Maybe no one has ever said this to you so clearly, but the truth is harsh. You feel chosen by videos like this, yet you still wake up every day with the same ache of feeling behind in your own life. You keep waiting for a sign from the universe, while deep down the one postponing everything is you. That's why nothing changes even when you try, because there is a silent emotional error that makes you doubt every step at the exact moment something good gets close. In this video, I'm going to show you why you keep repeating the same cycle of almost achieving, almost changing, almost becoming someone new, only to end up in the same place again. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll understand why the universe seems not to deliver anything to you, and for the first time, you'll clearly see how you've been sabotaging your own life without realizing it. You know very well that feeling of always being almost ready. You take courses, write things down, save videos, but deep down you feel something is still missing inside you. It's as if there were a locked drawer in your mind holding the life you want, and no one ever gives you the key. Meanwhile, the days pass, opportunities show up, and you convince yourself it's still not the right moment. But this "not yet" has been an excuse for years. Deep down, you feel you're falling behind. You watch people with less knowledge, less preparation, less sensitivity moving forward while you stay still. It hurts because you know it's not a lack of ability, it's a lack of movement. And it stings to admit that fear is controlling you more than any external circumstance. You're tired of starting excited and ending frustrated. Maybe you have that pile of unfinished projects, half-read books, plans that never leave the paper. There's always a seemingly rational reason to delay: money, time, family, exhaustion. But if you're honest with yourself, many of these reasons are masks for the same root. That silent panic of finally committing to who you could be. Because if you try for real and fail, how will you explain that to yourself? So you choose to live in that strange middle ground. You neither fail completely nor fully take the risk of winning. You stay trapped in the cycle of preparing forever without ever declaring yourself ready. And that's exactly how you sabotage your own life while thinking you're just protecting yourself. Protection turned into prison, and you feel that in your body. Your sleep is restless. Your mind doesn't shut off. Your thoughts spin around what you didn't do. Even when something good happens, you distrust it, waiting for it to go wrong at any second. It's as if your story were programmed to always end the same way. A nearly ending, almost worked, almost was different, almost was your turn. And living on almosts is a slow way of abandoning yourself. The worst part is that you learn to blame yourself for this. You call yourself weak, lazy, undisciplined. But that guilt only reinforces the feeling that you don't deserve what you desire. And the more you accuse yourself, the heavier it becomes to take any step. Guilt doesn't move you, it paralyzes you. Some days you try to react. You make lists, set goals, promise now it's happening. Maybe you even feel a different energy for a few hours. But one delay, one criticism, one unexpected problem, and everything collapses as if it were too fragile. Then you return to the same pattern, asking again why nothing changes even when you try. This repetition creates a specific kind of pain, the feeling of being your own enemy. You look back and see chances that would have changed everything, but that you let slip. Not because you didn't know what to do, but because you couldn't say yes at the right moment. This chronic self-sabotage quietly eats away at your self-esteem until you start believing your whole life will always be like this. On the outside, you seem functional. You work, handle tasks, talk to people, post online. But inside there's a fracture, an emptiness no distraction can fill. It's the distance between who you are today and who you know you could be. That distance is what hurts the most. You've realized it's not a matter of information. You already know what you should do, how often, in how many steps, with which techniques. Your problem isn't lack of knowledge, it's lack of internal alignment. It's like driving with the handbrake on. The car moves, but drags and wears down. That's the daily feeling of living stuck inside yourself. And maybe the hardest truth to accept is this: No one is coming to rescue you. No course, no relationship, no video will cross that distance for you. The most anything external can do is reveal where you're still hiding. And that's exactly what this video intends to do. To put you face to face with the emotional error that keeps you stuck. The cause isn't the world around you, it's the way you learn to see yourself. From early on, you were trained to believe you only deserve to receive after proving yourself excessively. Your emotional system was conditioned to distrust anything that feels too easy. So when something begins to flow, you create obstacles to balance things out. That's how fear becomes your reference for safety. The fear controlling you today isn't always loud. Often it appears disguised as caution, responsibility, rationality. It convinces you it's better to wait a little longer, analyze one more detail, hear one more opinion. Meanwhile, real opportunities expire and don't return. And you call it bad luck, when in truth it's organized self-sabotage. There is also a pattern of self-explanation that keeps you trapped. Every time something doesn't work, you create a narrative that protects you from pain. It wasn't meant to be. The time hasn't come. The universe knows what it's doing. These phrases sound spiritual, but often they're just an escape. A soft way of avoiding facing why you keep repeating the same cycle. The invisible cause lives in your relationship with error. You were taught to treat mistakes as proof of incapacity, not as part of the process. So your body reacts to risk as if it were emotional death. Your heart races, your mind imagines all possible scenarios of humiliation, rejection, and loss. Of course you freeze under that. The emotional error keeping you stuck is simple and cruel. You confuse safety with repetition. If something is familiar, even painful, your system interprets it as safe. And if something is new, even better, your system interprets it as threat. That's why you return, without noticing, to relationships that hurt you and habits that weaken you. They're harmful, but they're familiar. This confusion makes you protect exactly what destroys you. You argue in favor of your own limitations, defend your excuses. When someone says you have potential for more, you list 10 reasons not to try. It's as if there were an internal lawyer working against your expansion at all times. And that lawyer is fueled by unresolved emotional pain. Traumas, small humiliations, repeated criticism, impactful failures. All of it stored in your body as evidence that exposure is dangerous. So whenever a chance to advance appears, these files are pulled like a dossier. Your emotional brain reminds you of every time it hurt, to convince you not to risk again. That's why self-sabotage feels like protection instead of prison. The big trap is thinking you're making conscious decisions. You analyze pros and cons, think about scenarios, talk to people. But the decision was made earlier, at the level of fear, the body, the reflex. When it reaches the mind, it simply decorates the fear's choice with nice arguments. That's why something inside you says go, but you stay still. Deep down, there's a conflict between two internal images. The image of who you know you could be, and the image of who you learn to believe you are. While these two versions fight silently, your life stays on pause. You don't fully commit to what you want, nor release what you no longer want. You remain suspended in the middle, tired and directionless. This constant suspension has a high cost. Your body charges with symptoms, your mind charges with anxiety, your soul charges with emptiness. Every day lived far from what makes sense drains your vitality. It's like living with your life's volume turned to minimum, hearing only background static. And you start wondering if you'll ever manage to turn that dial. The truth is, there's no secret book out there waiting for the right moment to appear. What exists is a set of experiences, pain, and learning preparing you from the inside. When that internal preparation reaches a certain point, things begin to appear as if by magic. Videos, people, opportunities, insights. Everything seems to arrive at the same time. But that isn't luck, it's emotional frequency finally changing. This is when the universe seems to know you're ready. Not because an external force decided so, but because your energy stops screaming fear and begins transmitting readiness. When that happens, you realize you were never forgotten. You were invisible to the chances that always existed around you. And what we're going to do from now on is make that readiness conscious. You say you want to change, but you organize your routine to stay exactly the same. You promise to wake up earlier, but you go to bed scrolling until your mind shuts off. You talk about taking care of yourself, yet you accept every demand from others to avoid conflict. This pattern looks like simple exhaustion, but it's the most efficient way to hide. This is how you sabotage your own life without even noticing. When a real opportunity appears, you start disqualifying everything. You say it's not the right moment, that you lack money, support, courage. You turn every possibility into a threat and label it being realistic. In practice, you're training your brain to run from everything that could expand you. And then you wonder why nothing changes even when you try. Another silent behavior is collecting knowledge without applying it. You watch videos, read books, save posts, take pretty notes. You feel that brief rush of "now I get it," as if that were action. But when it's time to choose differently, you go back to the old pattern. Knowledge without practice becomes just a more sophisticated form of escape. There's also the habit of filling your days with irrelevant things. You overload yourself with urgent tasks that don't bring you closer to anything meaningful. You answer everything, solve everything, put out fires that aren't even yours. At the end of the day, you're too exhausted to focus on what truly matters. Fatigue becomes the perfect excuse to avoid facing what scares you. The fear controlling you loves seeing you almost ready. It convinces you that you need to be 100% confident, 100% secure, 100% prepared. Since that never happens, you live in rehearsal mode instead of stepping on stage. Your life becomes a permanent warm-up for a game that never starts. This disguised perfectionism is one of the cruelest sabotagers. There's also the addiction to starting over all the time. You switch plans, projects, methods the moment you reach the difficult part. This way, you never have to face the discomfort of moving through doubt. The feeling of novelty gives you a false sense of progress. But in reality, it's just another way of repeating the same cycle in different scenarios. When someone praises you, you shrink or joke about it. You can't hold the gaze of someone who sees value in you. It exposes you. Accepting recognition would mean admitting you already have something to offer. And if you admit that, you lose the excuse to keep hiding. So you protect yourself by rejecting exactly what you've been asking for. Another behavior that traps you is negotiating with your own pain. Certain relationships, habits, and environments hurt you. But you create internal deals to stay anyway. It's not that bad. It could be worse. You trade the possibility of a real life for the stability of a tolerable one. Each time you do that, you send yourself the message that you don't deserve more. You also got used to outsourcing emotional responsibility. You put in other people's hands the task of validating your choices and feelings. If they approve, you move a little. If they criticize, you shrink completely. Your life stays at the mercy of others' moods, opinions, and limits. Meanwhile, your own inner voice gets quieter and quieter. The emotional mistake keeping you stuck is believing fear is a sign to stop. In reality, fear only shows where your old story wants to stay in control. You interpret it as proof of incapacity instead of a natural part of change. So every uncomfortable emotion becomes a reason to go back. You forget that crossing fear is exactly what rewrites your identity. Notice how you treat yourself in small daily failures. You forget something simple, miss a deadline, make a tiny mistake. Instantly, you attack yourself internally, reinforcing the idea that you're incapable. This constant self-attacking destroys any attempt at growth. No one evolves while being whipped by their own thoughts all day long. In the end, the behavior that sabotages you most is living as a spectator. You watch your own life as if standing outside the screen. You react to events instead of choosing direction. You accept emotional crumbs instead of admitting you want much more. And as long as you behave like an extra, the leading role will never arrive. Imagine someone named Raphael, in his mid-30s, intelligent, sensitive, exhausted. He keeps saying he just needs a little more time to get his life organized. He has unfinished courses, half-done projects, dreams saved in forgotten folders. On the outside, he seems functional. He works, talks, laughs when needed. On the inside, he feels like he's watching his life pass by through a window. Raphael grew up hearing he needed to be down to earth. Whenever he dreamed big, he was told that was something irresponsible people did. He learned to be proud of enduring everything quietly and never asking for help. With time, he started confusing resistance with personal worth. The more he suffered, the more he believed he was simply being strong. One day, a real opportunity appeared. A friend invited him to join a project that combined everything he loved. Creative work, flexible hours, real potential for growth. Raphael felt his whole body light up, like something finally made sense. But along with the excitement came a brutal wave of fear. He started listing reasons to refuse, one after another. He said the economic moment was bad, that he needed stability, that maybe he wasn't truly talented, that he'd probably get in the way. He took so long to answer that his friend moved forward alone. Raphael felt relief at first, but days later a quiet pain settled in. It wasn't just sadness over the lost opportunity. It was the feeling of having betrayed himself again. He repeated a sentence he'd used for years, "I wasn't ready." Except this time the justification felt hollow, as if it had lost its power. He began wondering how much longer he'd hide behind that excuse. That same week, Raphael argued with his partner. She pointed out, with anger and affection mixed together, that he kept promising change. He said he'd take care of his health, yet lived exhausted. He said he'd start therapy, but kept postponing the appointment. He said he wanted to be more present, but hid in his phone every night. Her words hit a point he'd avoided for years. It wasn't the world stopping him, he just couldn't sustain a yes. Realizing that hurt more than any criticism he'd ever heard. He saw himself clearly repeating the same cycle in different scenarios, starting excited, freezing in fear, inventing a socially acceptable excuse. One sleepless night, Raphael hit play on a random video. It wasn't the first. He'd watched dozens about change. But in that one, someone said plainly, "You are sabotaging your own life." The sentence hit him like a punch, not because it was new, but because he was ready. For the first time, he didn't try to defend himself mentally. Instead of turning it off, he let the discomfort rise. He recognized every example as if the script had been written about his routine. He felt shame, anger, sadness, all mixed in his chest. But in the middle of that emotional mess, something appeared. A genuine desire to stop lying to himself. The next morning, without drama, he did something different. He didn't write a long list or promise radical change. He simply booked his first therapy session and texted his friend. He admitted he had refused out of fear and asked if there was still space to collaborate. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was his first sustained yes in a long time. The friend replied that the project had moved forward, but there were still open fronts. He said he respected the honesty and they could build something slowly. Raphael felt guilt and relief at the same time, but this time he didn't run. He chose to stay there, facing the discomfort of being late. And even so, choosing to remain instead of quitting again. As the weeks passed, nothing turned into an overnight miracle. He still stumbled, delayed things, made mistakes, but something different was happening behind every choice. Every time fear appeared, he recognized it as the old pattern trying to take over. And many times he acted anyway, even trembling. Raphael's story doesn't end with a perfect conclusion. It continues every day in small, invisible decisions. But the real change is something else. He stopped believing he wasn't ready. He understood that readiness doesn't come before action. It's built along the way. And from that point on, the universe stopped being an excuse and became a mirror. You reach a point where staying the same hurts more than any risk. That old feeling of one day I'll change loses strength because you finally see that day never comes. And a sharp clarity appears. Either you move now or nothing in your life will change. In that moment, your internal narrative collapses, along with every excuse you've used for years. What remains is the raw truth you've avoided for so long. The emotional turning point happens when you finally admit you're tired of yourself. Not tired of work, people, or routine. Tired of your fear, your avoidance, your self-sabotage, your repetitive cycle. It's a kind of fatigue that doesn't paralyze, it exposes. It shows that simply surviving is no longer enough. This is where the emotional error keeping you stuck becomes impossible to ignore. You realize you've spent years trying to change through motivation, but real change is born from deep dissatisfaction with your own stagnation. You finally understand that fear isn't a signal to stop, it's a doorway. And for the first time, you consider walking through it. The pain takes on a new meaning. It stops being the enemy and becomes the compass. It shows what you need to leave behind, let go, and end, even when it hurts to admit. You start seeing that you've been repeating the same cycle with different people, and that this isn't bad luck, it's unresolved emotional patterning. In that moment, something in you realigns. It's not hope, it's responsibility. A raw, uncomfortable awareness that no one is coming to save you from the life you're creating. At the same time, a strength you haven't felt in years begins to rise. The strength to stop lying to yourself. When this awareness arrives, it affects the body. It's as if you suddenly realize you've been holding a weight you don't need to carry. Old tensions surface, old beliefs crack open. But with that comes a new kind of space, breathable space. And that's where the real decision happens. You start looking at your fears more clearly. You see they're not trying to punish you. They're trying to keep you small because it's familiar. But familiar isn't safe, it's just known. And what's known might be exactly what destroys you in the long run. This perception creates an internal break. In that break, you stop seeking guarantees before you act. You realize guarantees never come to those who stay inside the same version of themselves. Every real change demands a step that feels bigger than you. But once you take that step, you see the truth. You weren't too small. You were just acting small. And that shifts everything. The emotional turning point also arrives with a quiet confession. You're no longer afraid of failing. You're afraid of living the same story until the end of your life. That thought weighs more than any risk of the new. And it's that weight that pushes you forward. Slowly, you understand that changing isn't becoming a new person. It's stopping the betrayal of who you've always been. That part of you that's been asking for space starts gaining a voice. And this time, you listen. This is the turning point. The moment when pain stops controlling you and starts waking you up. When you stop avoiding and start choosing. When fear loses authority and becomes only a signal that you're finally moving in the right direction. The emotional shift isn't dramatic. It's intimate, direct, almost silent. It's when you tell yourself, enough, I'm not continuing like this. And for the first time, the sentence isn't empty. It's the beginning of a new identity. When you stay trapped in the same fears, your body builds a repetitive chemical cycle. Emotions become habit. Your brain releases the same neurotransmitters, reinforcing the same identity every day. In practice, you're biologically conditioned to stay who you've already been. That's why change feels impossible. Quantum physics appears here as an objective emotional metaphor, not as magic, but as the science of your internal behavior. An electron only jumps to a new orbit when it receives enough energy. Until then, it stays in the same level. You work the same way. Your emotional orbit is made of the stories you repeat to yourself. I can't. I don't deserve it. I'm not ready. These aren't loose thoughts. They're emotional frequencies that keep you stuck. The emotional quantum jump happens when you interrupt the vibration of the old pattern. When you stop feeding the narrative that shrinks you. It's not gradual change. It's an identity break, an internal collapse where you stop recognizing the old self. And because of that, life can't respond the same way anymore. You don't change because life changes. Life changes because you change. Your emotional field reorganizes your perceptions. What used to paralyze you loses power, and what once seemed distant begins to move closer. When you sustain a new emotion, even briefly, your body records it. Over time, the new vibration stops feeling strange and becomes familiar. Your nervous system sees it not as threat, but as update. And in that moment, fear stops ruling. You begin to feel possibility. That's what many people call alignment, but the label matters less than the effect. Your brain builds new connections. Your body reduces the chemistry of anxiety. Your perception stops scanning for danger and starts scanning for movement. You create a new reference for who you can become. This process doesn't depend on motivation. It depends on emotional coherence. If you act like a confident person for 10 minutes a day, your body learns. If you act like a defeated person for the rest of the day, your body learns that too. The question is, which learning do you repeat more? Quantum physics teaches that any system responds to its dominant state. Your emotional system does the same. You can say you want to change, but if you feel like you can't, the body follows the feeling. It obeys the strongest vibration, not the prettiest intention. That's why nothing changes even when you try. But when you sustain the new emotion long enough, something collapses. Old thoughts lose their grip. Old behaviors become uncomfortable. Old excuses stop making sense. That's the sign the old orbit no longer fits you. At that point, life starts reorganizing the external world to match your internal world. Opportunities show up, or you finally notice opportunities you always ignored. Relationships align or dissolve depending on your new emotional frequency. Your boundaries get clearer because your identity gets firmer. And this reorganization isn't mystical, it's consequence. The simple quantum explanation is this: you don't receive a new life to then change your emotion. You change your emotion to receive a new life. And this transition doesn't depend on luck or destiny. It depends on the courage to interrupt the narrative that keeps you small. Now is the moment when you have to turn awareness into movement. There's no point in understanding the problem if you keep living the same way. Your body only believes what you repeat through action, not what you promise yourself. This is where you interrupt the cycle that has kept you stuck for years and begin, truly, to rebuild your life through conscious choice. The first step is admitting you're sabotaging your own life. This isn't blame, it's diagnosis. If you don't admit it, you'll keep repeating the same behaviors while expecting different outcomes. Self-sabotage isn't some invisible monster. It's an emotional routine you perform without noticing. Simply recognizing this already breaks part of the pattern. The second step is identifying the fear that's controlling you. Fear always tries to disguise itself as prudence, logic, or responsibility. But beneath that, it's just the mechanism that keeps you tied to your old self. Ask yourself, what would I stop avoiding if I weren't afraid? The answer reveals exactly where your life is stuck. The third step is cutting the repetition that's destroying you. You know precisely which cycle you keep reenacting. The same conversations, the same choices, the same people, the same results. This cycle doesn't repeat because you're incapable. It repeats because your body is conditioned to it. Interrupting it means doing, at least for one day, the opposite of your automatic behavior. The fourth step is confronting the emotional error that keeps you frozen. It might be guilt, rejection, or the belief you don't deserve anything better. Whatever it is, it functions like an anchor. Write down what hurts most, what you avoid, what keeps returning. That recognition is the beginning of liberation. The fifth step is adopting a new behavior immediately. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel like it. Now. Every negative emotional cycle is broken through contradictory action. If you usually stay silent, speak. The sixth step is redefining your boundaries. Boundaries aren't about others, they're about you. It's your commitment not to let your old self make decisions for you. It's saying no to what shrinks you, even if you're shaking on the inside. Your boundary establishes your emotional identity. The seventh step is monitoring your emotional energy daily. Ask yourself each morning, which version of me am I feeding today? This question prevents you from going back into autopilot. It forces awareness, presence, and intention. And awareness transforms destiny. The eighth step is accepting that discomfort is not a sign of error. It's a sign of expansion. Your old self will resist, argue, and demand that everything return to the pattern. But that discomfort simply shows that your emotional frequency is shifting. Keep going anyway. The ninth step is acting without needing immediate results. Your body wants proof before it allows change. But real change only happens when you act without proof. This is where most people stop, and where you must go forward. Life responds to persistence, not anxiety. The 10th step is creating small, intentional wins. Small wins reprogram your nervous system. Don't chase massive transformations. Chase daily shocks of self-confidence. A conversation you were avoiding, a delayed decision, a boundary respected. These micro acts build a new identity. The 11th step is removing people, environments, and content that reinforce your old self. If you stay surrounded by what shaped you, you won't transform. Environments are powerful emotional triggers. Remove what pulls you backward without hesitation. Your future depends on what you cut, not just what you add. The 12th step is sustaining your new frequency long enough. Change isn't an event, it's consistency. Each day you choose who you'll be. Each day you break from your old self. Each day you build the new one. You've made it this far because you already know you can't live the way you used to. That pain you feel isn't failure, it's a calling. It's the warning that your life can't stay trapped in the cycles that suffocate you. You know, nothing changes even when you try, because you've been trying the wrong way. But that ends now. What you faced in this script wasn't motivation, it was confrontation. You clearly saw where you've been sabotaging your own life. You saw the fear that's been controlling you and the emotional error that keeps you stuck. And you finally understood why you keep repeating the same cycle, even exhausted by it. But you also saw something deeper. You saw there is a concrete, human, possible way out. You understood that change isn't hope, it's structure. And if you follow this plan, your life can't stay the same. Because you won't stay the same. Now the choice is in your hands. You can close this video and go back to autopilot, recreating exactly the life you say you want to abandon. Or you can decide that today is the day you break the pattern, not tomorrow, not when you feel brave. Now, courage is born from decision, not emotion. If this made sense, don't watch in silence. Comment below to mark the beginning of your emotional shift. Write only, "I break the cycle now." That sentence is your public commitment to your new self, and commitment creates reality. And before you go, do something simple. Subscribe to the channel so you stay inside this process. Here you won't hear pretty phrases. You'll face the truth that transforms. That's what you need to avoid slipping back into the pattern that keeps you small. Join the community that is breaking cycles every single day. Because from now on, the question is no longer, can I do it? The question is, how much longer will I let my old self run my life? And if you reach the end of this video, the answer is already clear. You are ready. Now prove it to yourself.